appreciate our distinguished senators and honorable members of the House of Representatives who are able to make it here. Your presence is a continued demonstration of your commitment to collaborating with us so that together we can make the nation's workforce bastions for boosting national productivity while ensuring that the welfare of workers is adequately catered for. NLC is proud of you and the passion you have expressed.
We are present in Nigeria since 1976, and we have 110 offices in 104 countries all over the world. We support social democracy, civil society, trade unions, people who work on decent work, democracy, and on political education. And I've learned today that also 10 years ago, we were together in this very hotel with members of your committees and German members of parliament, as we also try to bring Germany and Nigeria closer together.
Current minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira. That is around $150. It's grossly inadequate. It's not sufficient for a single person, not to talk of a married man or woman with children.
The minimum wage is nothing to write home about. It's been a problem over time, and it's more of a problem because of the critical situation we found ourselves today.
In every home, if you are the father and the mother is there, and you have children, when the children are hungry, who will they go to? They will go to the mother. Am I right? So the burden of the current situation is enormous on women.
Maybe 4 years ago, a bag of rice could be 17,000. Today, a bag of rice is above 50,000. Same with every other commodity. And then you can see that it is no longer a wage. It's no longer even a minimum wage, talk less of being a living wage.
My take on the national minimum wage will be with particular reference to the local government system, since I'm from that sector of the workforce. We are in the public sector, but we are not very comfortable the way the current national minimum wage was implemented.
The current minimum wage in Nigeria has been overtaken by the inflation. You can see it 30,000 naira. And when you look at today, Nigeria, the bag of rice is 65,000.
The current minimum wage Nigerians are asking is timely. It's a well-deserved decision because with the inflation and the value of our naira, the cost of life generally in the country, what our workers are earning will never actually really take them home.
Well, the reality is that it's not enough for any worker. And if you look at the way the price of goods as at 1999 and compare it to the increase in the wages from then that we have had up till now, you see that Nigerian workers are poorer.
I think this attempt to bring organized labor and members of the National Assembly together is the right one. Because generally, in order to bring about transformation to living wage, you require all hands, all the constituencies to be brought together, to be part of this process, all stakeholders. And so the National Assembly, as those who make laws, and labor, who represent the workers, constitute important platforms of this stakeholder framework.
The Chairman Senate Committee on Labor and the House, who are more labor-oriented, you understand, they looked for us, they came into us. How do we synergize, how do we work together to give a better life to the citizens of this country? I'm a happy person now, because for the first time, the two labor committees in the National Assembly, that is the Committee of Labor in the Senate and the House of Representatives, have come together to work with labor. It has never been like that.
As corruption, insecurity, and youth business. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, highlighted this during the Independence Day lecture, emphasized that the workers who cannot afford the basic need less likely to rush into the negative activities. The future of our nation depends on the well-being of the youth by making them employable, comfortable. We create a solid foundation for the leadership of tomorrow. As a House Committee of Labor, Employment and Productivity, we are fully committed to create an enable environment for a workable and wage and addressing the concern of the labor force.
One of the mantras of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung is social justice. So we kind of find a way, the crux of the organization is the pillar of this organization. The ideology is being built on the back of workers. So it's very simple. If the workers are doing well, the society will do well, the economy will do well. So basically we're pushing for the workers in particular. So workers in all sectors, whether you're in government, the formal or informal sector, once you do well, the economy will do well.
Let us do something because of these potential benefits to the economy. If there are benefits to the workers, if there are benefits to the businesses, the employers, and if there are benefits to the government and to the overall economy, by bringing about a transition into a living wage order, then it becomes a contribution to the process of development to actually articulate, implement, and push.
A living wage is what nations that consider the standard of living of their people put in place. But as we know, there's a difference between a minimum wage and a living wage. A living wage speaks directly to the realities of the people.
Well, from my point of view, the living wage represents the ideal. Ideal in the sense that we are not just talking about the quantum of pay, but you are looking at the surrounding elements that make life comfortable, that make the standard of living of people reasonable. You are talking about housing, you are talking about food, you are talking about health care, you are talking about transportation, you are talking about all government of things that are outside of wages, but that will impact positively in the living conditions and the living standard of workers.
I think the discussion globally is moving from minimum wage to a living wage because of the fact that the minimum wage has been found to not suffice. And so when you talk about a living wage, you're talking about how much an average person needs to be able to meet all of his needs.
In this circumstance, what are these people supposed to do? I use the example of ASU, sir. The last time we had an agreement, a functional agreement with government, as you know, sir, was the 2009 ASU FGN agreement, part of which haven't even yet been conclusively, implemented. And then, almost quite unsuccessfully, the union has used various mechanisms at its disposal to call government back to the renegotiating table. That was...
Now, I'm happy that ASU is around. My wife is ASU. My wife is a professor of sociology. Why are we having parity? Academic staff salary scale different. Technologies, different. You go to the medical line, medical doctors, different. Nurses, different. Lab, different. Why? Is it not for the same purpose of government?
The senator spoke about the deputy leader or chairman spoke about this issue of minimum wage. You see, the federal government of Nigeria, I think what he said is because their children are working in CBN, NNPC, and other bigger organizations. So we at the Joint Council, we brought this issue. And especially the present head of service is like she's against it totally.
Our distinguished senator, please suffice me to say that till today, out of more than 50 submissions that we made to the federal government, what has been implemented is not up to 5. Please, I stand to be corrected. I have many university-based staff here. Not up to 5 has been, effectively and sufficiently implemented.
Now, if we have this interaction repeatedly, when such matters come up at the National Assembly, they should tell them that this is the way it is, this is the way it is, this is the way it is.
I was the first liaison officer the Nigerian Labour Congress appointed to liaise between the National Assembly and the Nigerian Labour Congress and its affiliates. Prior to that time, there was no sustainable or viable channel between the two, and there were issues.
Basically, at this level, we're trying to work with those at the policy level. So basically, if you want to change something, you have to work with people who have power and those who have influence to change things. Definitely, the opinion of those in the bottom echelon matters a lot. But at this point in time, what do we want to change? So we look at those that have power, who can change something, which are members of the parliament, and those that have also influence, that can as well influence the labor force, which is the NLC. So bringing these two together to first of all agree to work together, that's the first step.
We need to collaborate. Labor unions operate within the confines of the law. The National Assembly make laws. So there is need for us to collaborate together. And also, like I did say, there is need for labor, because the problem that we have about labor matter is multidimensional. There is need for labor to, first of all, find a way of ensuring that all workers in Nigeria earn the same salary, not minding where you work or what you do. People who work in different places can then be given more salaries or more allowances, more allowances as per their job.
It's a very important relationship between the National Assembly and labor, because labor is supposed to have statistics of the conditions of living, the living conditions of its people, the workplace conditions, the family, and the National Assembly will come in handy with the issue of a legal framework that will ensure that the aggregate of the conditions that are raised of Nigerian workers by organized labor are actually concretized in the formal document. So it doesn't leave that to the discretion of maybe states, the federating states, or even the federal government. Once the National Assembly makes it a law, then it becomes binding.
The issue of minimum wage is a constitutional issue. It's an issue that has to be supported by a parliamentary act, and therefore, if you don't have a law attached to whatever agreement is made between the employer and the employee, it will just be mere understanding. But when you have it legislated and it becomes an act and a law, it therefore means it becomes compulsory for the employer to know, it is compulsory for an employer to know the minimum he would give those that he has employed.
The National Assembly people came to the National Assembly from various diverse backgrounds. Some are lawyers, some are engineers, some medical doctors, you know. And then when they come there, apart from the process of legislation, they have to understand the subject matter. As part of even their jobs is to meet with the stakeholders, you know. So those of them in the labor committee are the people that should understand labor, understand their plight, understand their language. They are the bridge between labor and the rest of the National Assembly members.
Yep, we've been having all kind of conversation, and the meeting that we've had, supported by Friedrich Ebert Foundation, has been a very useful meeting, at least in terms of closing the gap and building synergy to ensure that organized labor understand the character of workers and their unions, and also appreciate the needs and the challenges that are confronting the working people.
I'm sure so many participants here did not really understand what is happening. The retreat has given us an opportunity, an insight to see that we are behind, people are suffering. Like, you know, the presenter of yesterday gave a survey of about 4 countries. I mean, even as a person, I was seeing that for the first time.
We should look forward for more engagement, because according to what transpired here during the retreat, the National Assembly members pledged their total support towards implementation of the living wage in the country. And through this engagement, we will be able to understand ourselves. We will be able to tell them the situation of Nigerian workers, that is the reality of the situation of Nigerian workers, and I believe they will reason with that, and they will give all their support and cooperation.
We are open also next year to continue the discussion. We had a debate about the minimum wage in Germany not so long ago. Until a few years ago, there was no minimum wage in Germany. So we, as a German political foundation, interested in social democracy and social justice, are of course interested and willing to contribute and continue the discussion. I'm happy that the members of the Senate were very engaged yesterday and have said that they would like to continue the discussion with us. So I'm looking forward to maybe next year continue this debate between the organized labor and the policymakers.